Hello, future medical professionals. Welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating world of body fluids and circulation. Today, we are focusing on one of the most vital components of this system, blood. This session will take you on a journey from the basics to the complex mechanisms, preparing you for any ET and beyond. We'll start with the fundamentals, then explore medium-level details, analyze harder concepts, and finally, tackle the most challenging aspects. Let's begin. Ready to uncover the secrets of this amazing fluid? Let's start with the basics of what blood is and what it does for you every single day. Blood is much more than just a red liquid, it's a specialized connective tissue, meaning it connects and supports other tissues throughout your body. It's fluid, constantly moving, and absolutely essential for maintaining life. Think of it as your body's internal transportation system. It's made up of two main parts, a liquid matrix called plasma, and various formed elements, which are essentially the cells suspended within that plasma. Together, these components work tirelessly to keep you healthy. Let's break down these components and their roles. Plasma, which makes up about 55% of your blood, is mostly water, but it's packed with important proteins, salts, hormones, and even waste products. Then we have the formed elements, making up the other 45%. These include red blood cells, or RBCs, which are like tiny oxygen delivery trucks. White blood cells, or WBCs, are your body's immune soldiers fighting off infections. And finally, platelets, which are tiny fragments that act as your body's emergency repair crew, stopping bleeding. All these parts work together for three crucial functions: transport of vital substances, protection against threats, and regulation of your internal environment, like body temperature and pH. Now, let's test your understanding with a few quick questions. First, which component of blood is primarily responsible for transporting oxygen? Second, can you name the fluid matrix of blood? And third, what are the three main types of formed elements found in blood? Take a moment to think about these. The answers are key to understanding the basics of blood. Great job with the basics. Now, let's zoom in and explore the intricate details of blood's components and their specific jobs. Plasma, the straw-colored, viscous fluid, isn't just water. It's a complex solution, with water making up 90 to 92% and the rest being vital proteins like fibrinogen, globulins, and albumins. Fibrinogen is a hero in stopping bleeding, while globulins are your body's defenders, forming antibodies. Albumins are crucial for maintaining the right fluid balance. Beyond proteins, plasma also carries essential mineral ions, glucose, amino acids, lipids, and hormones, ensuring every part of your body gets what it needs. Next, let's talk about erythrocytes, or red blood cells. These are the most abundant cells, about 5 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter. They're unique, biconcave, meaning they're thinner in the middle, and lack a nucleus in mammals, which allows them to carry more hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, the iron-containing protein, is what gives blood its red color and, more importantly, reversibly binds with oxygen, delivering it from your lungs to every cell. These tireless workers have a lifespan of about 120 days before they're recycled, primarily in the spleen. Moving on to leukocytes, or white blood cells. Unlike RBCs, they're colorless and far fewer in number, but don't underestimate their importance. They're your immune system's front line. We classify them into granulocytes like neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, which have distinctive granules in their cytoplasm, and agranulocytes, which include lymphocytes and monocytes, lacking these granules. Each type has a specialized role in fighting infections and maintaining health. Finally, we have thrombocytes, or platelets, tiny cell fragments vital for blood clotting. When you get a cut, platelets rush to the scene, releasing substances that initiate the clotting process, preventing excessive blood loss. Time for some medium-level questions. First, what percentage of plasma is water? Second, name the plasma protein primarily involved in maintaining osmotic balance. Third, why are human RBCs described as anucleated? Fourth, which organ is known as the graveyard of RBCs? And finally, differentiate between granulocytes and agranulocytes, giving examples of each. Take a moment to formulate your answers as these questions delve deeper into the specifics. Excellent progress. Now, let's tackle some harder concepts essential for a thorough understanding of blood. Blood groups are a fascinating aspect, determined by specific antigens on your red blood cells. The above system is the most critical, involving A and B antigens and corresponding antibodies. If you have A antigens, your group A, B antigens, group B, both, group AB, neither, group O. Knowing your blood type is crucial because transfusing incompatible blood can cause a severe, life-threatening reaction called agglutination. Group O is the universal donor, while group AB is the universal recipient due to their antigen-antibody profile. Beyond ABO, the Rh factor is another vital antigen. If you have it, you're Rh positive, if not, Rh negative. The Rh factor becomes critically important in pregnancy, leading to a condition called erythroblastosis fetalis. If an Rh negative mother carries an Rh positive baby, her body might produce antibodies against the baby's Rh antigens, especially during the first delivery. In subsequent Rh-positive pregnancies, these antibodies can cross the placenta, attacking the fetus's red blood cells, causing severe anemia and jaundice. Fortunately, this can be prevented by administering anti-Rh antibodies to the mother after her first Rh-positive birth. Finally, let's understand blood coagulation, or clotting, a remarkable process that stops bleeding. It's a complex cascade of events involving many clotting factors and initiated by either tissue injury, extrinsic pathway, or internal vessel damage, intrinsic pathway. The key steps involve the activation of prothrombin to thrombin, which then converts soluble fibrinogen into insoluble fibrin threads. These fibrin threads form a strong meshwork that traps blood cells, forming a stable clot and sealing the wound. Calcium ions play a crucial role in multiple steps of this cascade, highlighting the intricate biochemistry involved. Alright, it's time for some challenging questions. First, explain why a person with blood group O is considered a universal donor. Second, what is the significance of the Rh factor in blood transfusions? Third, describe the condition known as erythroblastosis fetalis, including its cause and prevention. Fourth, name the two main pathways that initiate blood coagulation. Fifth, what is the role of thrombin in the blood clotting cascade? Sixth, if a person has A antigens and anti-B antibodies, what is their blood group? And seventh, which ion is crucial for the activation of prothrombin activator during blood clotting? Take your time to construct detailed answers. You've mastered the complex. Now, let's push our boundaries further into competitive depth, exploring cutting-edge insights and the intricate engineering of our body's fluid systems. Let's delve into advanced blood disorders. Anemia isn't just one condition, it encompasses various types like iron deficiency, pernicious, sickle cell, and aplastic anemia, each with distinct causes and impacts on oxygen transport. Leukemia represents a group of cancers where abnormal white blood cells proliferate uncontrollably, compromising the immune system and crowding out healthy blood components. Hemophilia, a genetic X-linked recessive disorder, involves deficiencies in specific clotting factors, leading to impaired blood coagulation. Understanding the precise molecular and genetic basis of these conditions is crucial for diagnosis and treatment strategies. Blood transfusions, while life-saving, carry risks. Transfusion reactions occur when incompatible blood types are mixed, triggering an immune response that can lead to severe complications like kidney failure. This is why cross-matching is paramount. it involves meticulously testing donor red blood cells against recipient plasma to detect any agglutination, ensuring compatibility beyond just turbo and Rh factors. This meticulous process, often involving multiple antigen systems, is a testament to the engineering precision required in modern medicine to ensure patient safety. Beyond blood, the lymphatic system is a vital, often overlooked, circulatory partner. It meticulously collects excess tissue fluid, which is formed when plasma leaks out of capillaries, bathing our cells with nutrients. This fluid, now called lymph, is then transported through a network of lymphatic vessels, filtered by lymph nodes, crucial immune surveillance centers teeming with lymphocytes and phagocytes before being returned to the bloodstream. This intricate system not only maintains fluid balance but also plays a pivotal role in immune defense, fat absorption, and waste removal, acting as a crucial bridge between the circulatory system and tissue health. Finally, let's explore the frontier of artificial blood. The quest for blood substitutes aims to overcome shortages, reduce transfusion risks, and simplify storage. Perfluorocarbons, or PFCs, are synthetic molecules that efficiently dissolve and transport oxygen, but they lack other vital blood functions. Hemoglobin-based oxygen carriers, or HBOCs, use modified hemoglobin to carry oxygen but face challenges like short half-life and potential toxicity. While not a complete replacement for natural blood, these substitutes offer promising solutions for emergency oxygen delivery, representing an ongoing engineering challenge to replicate the complex, multifaceted roles of our body's natural blood. Now, let's tackle the first 5 of our hardest questions. First, differentiate between sickle cell anemia and pernicious anemia based on their underlying causes. Second, explain the genetic basis of hemophilia A. Third, what is the primary purpose of cross-matching before a blood transfusion, and how is it performed? Fourth, describe the formation of tissue fluid and its relationship to lymph. And fifth, how do PFCs and HBOCs function as blood substitutes, and what are their limitations? Moving on to questions 6 through 10. Sixth, what is the main clinical manifestation of leukemia, and how does it impact normal blood cell function? Seventh, a patient experiences fever and chills after a blood transfusion. What is the likely cause, and what physiological event is occurring? Eighth, trace the path of lymph from its formation in the interstitial spaces back to the bloodstream. Ninth, why is an Rh mother's first Rh plus baby usually unaffected by erythroblastosis fetalis, but subsequent Rh plus babies are at risk? And 10th, discuss the ethical and logistical challenges associated with the widespread use of artificial blood. You've shown incredible dedication and understanding today, truly mastering the complex world of blood. This journey from basic definitions to competitive level insights is exactly what will prepare you for any ET and a future in medicine. Remember, every drop of knowledge you gain now builds the foundation for your success. For more such comprehensive and engaging educational content, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for continuous learning and updates. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep aiming high. See you next time.